for coming here today to get this very special sneak peek at Shudder's Creepshow. You guys are in for a treat. We have such a stacked panel of talent here. Get your questions ready. We'll have a Q&A segment. And you're also going to not just hear some great stories, but see some fun surprises. So without further ado, I'm going to bring out our panel here, starting with the man of the hour, the horror icon, the man about town, Greg Nicotero. Next to Greg will be sitting horror best-selling author and familiar face, Joe Hill. Hey, Joe. We've got another returning cast member, family member really, to the Creepshow family here. Very special welcome, please, for Adrienne Barbeau. Now I would like to introduce to you Mr. Giancarlo Esposito. Oh, Adrienne points out, you have a microphone there. Please do the honors.
Emmy nominee, Mr. John.
Please also welcome Miss Trisha Helfer. And our rounding out our family on stage, Mr. DJ Qualls.
Hi guys.
Yes. My name is Jen Yamato, by the way. I'm a film reporter for the LA Times, and I am so honored to be here to present with you all, Creepshow. It is not, what do you call it? You don't call it a reboot, you call it a continuation.
Yes.
And today we're going to go deep into why that is, and also preview what people should expect come September when Shudder releases Creepshow. First of all, let's hear from you, Greg, about what does it mean to you to be up here in front of these fine people to introduce a Creepshow that you have so guided, showrunner, writer, director, bringing all these familiar new faces in. What does it mean to you?
You know, it's, I don't even know how to answer that. It's such an amazing moment right now to share the stage with these guys. You know, Creepshow is very near and dear to me. It's the first movie set that I ever visited. It's where I met Tom Savini and changed my life. You know, just one little sort of chance meeting and being invited to visit the set sent me from being a doctor. I was going to be taking out real intestines and livers, and now I just do the fake shit. It's much easier, and there's much less drama involved. So I'm really honored to sit here next to these guys. I mean, Joe Hill. I mean, come on. This is kind of weird.
But Joe, what is this feeling like for you? Obviously, your roots go way back. I'm dying to know what it was like to grow up being Billy from Creepshow.
Yeah, I mean, it's strange. You know, sometimes life is like a Dickens novel, and it goes back to where it started. So my dad was in the first Creepshow. He played this guy turning into a big pile of moss, and he was friends with George A. Romero, but I think he was worried about being lonely while he was filming his piece. So they cast me as the kid Billy. who uses the voodoo doll to kill his on-screen father, and for taking away his horror comic books. And it was a different time, you know. It was really different. They didn't have the same child labor laws, and there wasn't like an on-set teacher or tutor or anything. So they didn't have anyone to look after me while my dad was working. So they asked Tom Savini to babysit me. So Tom Savini had 2 jobs while he did the original Creepshow. One was to do the gross out makeup effects, and the other was to look after me. And I spent a whole week in his trailer watching him artistically disfigure movie stars and invent these kind of fabulous creatures. He was my first rock star, you know, and by the time I left the Creepshow set, I felt I had discovered what I wanted to do, which was I also wanted to kill people in interesting and inventive ways and create memorable monsters, which is sort of what I wound up doing.
I would agree with that. You know, what's also interesting is when George, when they were closing their offices in Pittsburgh, they had an office on 247 Fort Pitt Boulevard. I remember the actual address. They called me one day and they're like, listen, we're moving offices, can you come and help clean out the basement? And the basement is the scene where that's the area where they shot the tenement scene in Dawn of the Dead. So I was like geeking out, like looking for like spare body parts. And there was a one piece of paper, and Michael Gornick, who was the office manager in the DP, said, listen, we're gonna throw most of this away, so if you see something you want, just take it. So there was a letter that I still have that was written to George from Steve King with notes about the script. Like they were talking about, like originally one of the episodes was gonna be a period piece, and the music and all these, it was really fascinating. It was on that old like onion paper, those of us who remember typewriters. It was like the onion paper, and if you made a mistake, you'd have to white it out. Anyway, handwritten on the side in Steve's handwriting was, hey, I think it would be a really great idea if my son Joe played the little kid in the beginning. I don't know if he can act or not, but let's give it a shot. So about 2 years ago, my wife and I moved into a new house, and I found this letter, and I scanned it, and I sent it to Steve. And like 3 days later, Joe was having a meeting at AMC, and he said, Nicotero has this letter that has my hand written, like, you should put my son in the movie. So it's not Creepshow without.
I battled my way up from the trenches to the acting success I later achieved in Creepshow, you know.
And it's not Creepshow without this woman to his left, Adrienne Barbeau.
Actually, this woman, when she read Steve King's script, said, I'm not doing this. Oh, God, this is gory and violent and gross and the language and everything. You never heard the story?
No.
And of course, I'm married to John Carpenter at the time, and he's telling, and I don't know who George Romero is. I don't watch horror films. And John is saying, are you kidding me? You're going to turn down an opportunity to work with George Romero, the master of horror? And Tom Atkins had been cast as your dad in the show. And Tom is a close friend of mine. And so I called Tommy and I said, Tommy, you're doing this? It's really good. And he said, oh God, Adrienne, you don't get it at all. It's going to be a comic book. It's going to be funny. It's going to be, you know, with wipes and stylized, and you've got to do it. So. I don't think your dad has ever heard that story either.
No, but had you done The Fog then?
I had done The Fog, yes.
So you weren't like a complete stranger to things being, you know,
Well, but The
the
Fog,
entrails flopping around.
in The Fog?
It wasn't too bloody.
And truthfully, when John handed me the screenplay to The Fog, I thought, well, it's not China syndrome. It's not coming home. It's not anything socially significant. What is this? This is not my genre.
Well, it's interesting.
But I'm happy I did it.
So are we.
Yeah.
One of the days that we shot our Creepshow. We had 3.5 days per segment. I mean, I was a little insane because originally I'm like, we're gonna do 18 scripts then we're going to do 6 episodes with 3 stories. And everyone went, great. So we developed 18 stories, and as soon as we started figuring out the budget, they're like, you're never going to be able to do this. But I love the night gallery idea of like one could be like 6 minutes and one could be, I love that we didn't have any constraints. And then of course they're like, we're never going to be able to afford 18. I'm like, okay, then we'll do 12. Which still was, I'm a lunatic. But when Adrienne came to film, we shot 12 pages in one day. And she looked at me at one point, she's like, you guys do this all the time? And there was one shot that we were doing, this was like one of the moments, and every single actor on this panel gave me a moment that just made me realize why it was so important to do this. But we were doing a scene, and I said, oh, try one of them, just try this. She looked at me and she was like, okay. And I said, yeah, it'll be great, trust me. And she said, God, you sound just like George. Because George, when she was playing Billy in Creepshow, George was having her be very outrageous.
Big.
And she was like, are you sure? And George was like, yeah, trust me. And so when she said, you sound just like George, I kind of went, well, that's why we're here.
And I'm really glad I did trust you. Greg is a wonderful director.
Oh,
I
it's
just,
such a pleasure.
It really was, wasn't
Such a
it?
pleasure, brother.
Yeah.
Really.
Well, Giancarlo, as we go down the line, sort of with our opening thoughts, Giancarlo, what were your initial thoughts to a new take on Creepshow? You and Adrienne star in one of Greg's segments, Gray Matters.
Yeah, I was really excited, but in this moment I wanted to just, I feel like a lot of gratitude inside of me, and I want to say thank you, not only to Greg for thinking of me for this, but also for the connection that drew me into this, which was Greg and also Stephen King. Many years ago I did a film called Maximum Overdrive with Stephen, and really fabulous movie. And I'm a little freaked out right now because Joe, boy, you look just like him. He directed that movie. I just wanted to say that, you know, I watched the original Creepshow and I loved it. I felt like it was, people asked me a question today of why do you think that horror is such a great genre? Because I think we're able to take in the unknown and unexpected and be surprised. And it's not only that it's horror or creepy or scary, but it allows us, it takes us from one place to another. So I'm grateful that you're here, Adrienne, because you, in your voice, and you as well, Joe, pass on this incredible stories of a lineage in time of great filmmaking that's extended to us. It's extended from George Romero's relationship with Stephen King all the way to Greg's personal relationship and his involvement in that particular period of time. And to bring this show back, which is so very exciting and so interesting, anthology series take us to a place different with each and every episode. But your connection to this passes on a legacy that I think is so important, not only in our entertainment industry, but in our creative consciousness. And I tell you, I did this because I realized that I've never done anything in this genre before. I also realized something that I think is really important for all of us to acknowledge and understand. I did this because there were 2 human beings that I really adored and had worked with previously in my career, if it was for 10 minutes or a day or a week. Greg designed my season 4 face-off, half face. I did not know that. Spectacular, dude. I met him there with my lovely daughter, Shane Lira, who was 14 at the time. I was being cast in a head cast from my head to my shoulders. I said, if you have to tap out, you may. Many great actors have tapped out. You can't hear anything, you can't see anything. Shane held my hand for a long time. She's with us tonight. Hi, Shane. She held my hand, and then Greg took her for a tour of his whole complex. So I met an artist. I met a man who created real things that represented real life, but that were really horrific and horrible. I met this artist, and when he texted me, he went off and did another show of his own that completely took him in a different direction and expanded his creative abilities. I went off and did another show as well, and I was begging for a moment in time where I could be directed by this man. And then I get there, and we have 4 days, and I'm like, okay, this takes me back 30 years of my career, guerrilla filmmaking, baby. You commit, you get in there and you do it. And I had so much fun, I can't even tell you. It's really
I mean, there's such a deep lineup in this season. We have 12 stories told across 6 episodes, and one of them, Trisha, you were so stellar. It is also notably it's so female-led story, and it's called Lydia Lane's Better Half. Tell us, what made you want to do this and come work with these guys, Greg, in Atlanta, right? You guys shot it on Atlanta, these fast shoot dates. What was the draw for you?
Well, the draw, I hadn't seen Creepshow, the original.
She's a scaredy cat. You're a little bit of a scaredy cat.
Yeah, and but I was in one way I'm incredibly thankful not only for having the opportunity to work on the show, but also to be introduced, because then of course you watch the show. I had always been a little scared of being scared, and then I watched it and I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. It's funny, it's deep, it's chilling, it's just, it's all wrapped up in one. And so I didn't know like the whole connection with it before, but I always wanted to work with you, Greg. And so I had some other connections involved, and I just read the script and went, this is fantastic. And so it was very easy to, say yes, when do you need me there? And yeah, like you go in and you're doing 3 days. You're in and out, and you don't have a lot of time in terms of prep to begin with. I mean, we met literally as we were, I had arrived and did fitting, and I do have to tell a funny little story. I told you guys, you already know. But not coming from a world of where you're like dealing with intestines and used to working with all the types of blood, and I'm a newbie, so maybe I put it that way. And show up at the production office, and Greg walks in, and I'm there with my co-star Danielle Lynn, who's wonderful, and she had, can I say she had to play dead a lot?
Yeah.
She had to play dead a lot, which is really hard to do if you've ever had to do it, right? I mean, you can't just stop your breathing. And Greg walks in, he introduces himself, he's like, look what we just shot. And he shows us a video, we're watching it, okay, wow. And then all of a sudden a head explodes. And it's a close-up of the head exploding. And we just went, ah!
I saw that too.
You were introduced to that?
I saw it like on day 1.
Yeah. So
That's how I indoctrinated everybody. I could tell whether you needed to stay or it might be like, oh, there's your car to the airport.
yeah. So it was an immediate like, whoa, okay, wow, yeah. But it's just it's a fascinating world to be part of, and you guys ran such, we talked a lot about the short amount of shoot days, but that's really the hardness is on you guys, because you guys make it easy for us to come in. We come in, we've got a short couple of days in, and everybody's so lovely and welcoming and helping us through it all, when you guys are then prepping, you're shooting, and you're prepping your next, and you were in and out when you came in when we were doing a specific part. I don't think I'll give away exactly what. And you had written this, and then you were just like running to the other set to get ready for the next day of shooting, and so hats off to the crew and the production on this, that you guys managed to do like all 12 stories in such a short amount of time. For us, I don't speak for myself, but my part was minusculely easy coming in. I just had to focus on one thing, Lydia Lane. And I don't think I've told you about Lydia Lane at all in my rambling, but I don't know what I can say, so.
Wasn't another original Creepshow alumna involved with Lydia Lane, John Harrison?
Yeah, yes, John Harrison. Listen, I'm glad, Trisha, you said that, because, I've been on The Walking Dead for 10 years, and we have a big crew, and we have 8 days per episode, and we have meetings, and, we prep it really well. and now we're on.
Wait a minute, I thought that's how you were doing this.
Well,
Are you the Walking
well,
Dead
here's the
director?
trick. No, but
It's
the
fabulous.
trick was we had a very small crew. Like our production meetings for the next episodes would be during lunch because we didn't have enough people to watch set and go to meetings at the same time because there was like 2 people per department. So we were every day at lunch. We were having production meetings. But between our DP, Rob Draper, Amy Holberg, our production designer, you know, I mean, they really brought the Creepshow look to life with the colored lighting and the fantastic sets. And then our directors, our writers and our directors, you know, I hired, you know, John Harrison, who was the first AD on the original Creepshow and wrote the music. He's an amazing writer, director. So I said, hey, you should come in and direct an episode, and do you want to write something with me? And he wrote the screenplay for Trisha's episode that was based on a story that we came up with. But, you know, we had, you know, Roxanne Benjamin, who directed Trisha's episode. John Harrison directed a couple. Rob Schraub, who's an amazingly talented guy, wrote and directed his episode. And then, of course, Tom Savini. You can't do, there's like a few ingredients that you need to make Creepshow. And Joe Hill and Stephen Kinner are one of them, Adrienne is one of them, all these people. But I had John Harrison, and I'm like, well, I want to swear, but I know I'm not supposed to because it tells me right here.
Does it say that?
It says don't swear. Right here. Is there anybody underneath here? Cover your ears. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't know what to say now.
But so I called Tom and I said, listen, man, you know, there's an episode that I have in mind for you. It's an episode that Joe wrote. So again, all that sort of 6 degrees of separation and everything melded together. And I think part of the reason that it was so easy to convince Joe to give us a story was because I told him that I wanted Tom Savini to direct the story. And that, listen, I didn't say that because I needed the story. I said it because I needed Tom and I needed all these amazingly talented people because they're all part of the essence of what Creepshow is. So when Jen was saying earlier, it's like, I like the idea of like, you watch the first Creepshow and the comic book closes at the end and the creep blows the candle out. And then you could watch episode 1 of our show and it's like opening a new comic book. It's not a reboot, it's not a retelling. George was so far ahead of his time, and Steve, because of their love for EC Comics. Like, the shit that I love, the stuff that I love, it's the same stuff that we all love. It's Jaws and Dawn of the Dead and Salem's Lot and the stuff that like I could watch or read 100 times. And now we have Creepshow, and it comes from a place for me of love. Like, I love this stuff so much that like when Jaws comes on, I don't care where it is, I'm gonna watch it because it's Jaws. And so for me to be able to continue this legacy with these people, like, I'll probably cry later tonight, and it'll be huge tears of just joy that somebody cares about the same thing I care about, because that's what makes watching Breaking Bad as a communal experience, because you just, or Game of Thrones, you just want to share it with somebody. You want to go, I love this.
But more Breaking Bads.
But the bottom line is, we're all here for the same reason. I'm grateful for you guys, and I'm grateful for the fans that support this. And you know, we'll jump down to DJ because we hired him the day before the episode shot, and he stars in the episode that David Scow wrote that I directed, and it's just him. He's the only guy.
What's it called?
It's called The
On
Finger.
the finger.
And you have one day to memorize everything?
I had 2 days. I'm sitting at home getting ready to go to New York on vacation. Like, tumbleweeds are blowing across my career. Both of my long-term shows had ended at the same time, and I was like, I had not been unemployed for 9 years, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna travel. Start in New York, I'm gonna go to Europe. And I was supposed to leave on Wednesday. I think it was Tuesday, I get this offer. And my first thought was, it shoots on Friday, which means that 10 people have turned this down, so it's not very good. So then I called my management, and he was like, no, I think they're just really busy. I was like, you know, the showrunner is the directors. They have a lot of stuff going on. So I was like, just read it and tell me what you think. And then I saw there's nobody else in it. And this always happens when you take high dialogue, short-term time to memorize stuff jobs. All the producers are always like, it's gonna be fine. we're gonna work with you. And then you show up and don't know your lines and you're an asshole. And so people are standing around looking at you like you can't do your job. And so I asked them, I was like, I read it and it's really beautifully written. And so I read it and I was like, so here's what you need to do. So just send me the first day. 12 pages was the first day. If I can memorize it by the time I go to bed, in the morning I will tell you yes or no. And I was able to memorize it. And usually as an actor, when you memorize things, you're taking cues off somebody else to help you stay on the course. But there was none of that. But when it's good storytelling and it's like intuitive, like it's really easy to memorize that stuff. But my episode is couched with 2 massive monologues, and they were scary to me. And the cool thing about what I've learned about being a performer is that I don't lie about anything. Like I come on and I'm like, I'm scared about this. And it takes the teeth out of it, and then a director, because a director is also your therapist, and so they're able to, when you admit that sort of vulnerability, it puts you in a place, well, let me help you get there. And Greg meant it. And real fast, the last day though was the thing I was the most afraid of. And it was this monologue with a couple of really big hairpin, really hard emotional transitions, and I had it down, but in my mind the character was sitting on a chair and we got into it and he's sitting on the ground. And I'm like, I can't do this. And I'm like, we're gonna be able to take 37 and I'm not gonna be able to do it. So we tried it a couple of times and I lost it. Both times it was supposed to be that transition. And I was like, you have to help me out here. And he's like, well, you have to be on the floor. So we were able to work through it, and it was this really great thing. At the end of it, I felt fucking 10 feet tall because I'd done this thing, and I could hear it coming out of me, and it was this visceral connection to what I was doing, and it felt like freedom, and I loved it. And it was, and by the way, I got invited to be on this panel. I asked to be on this panel.
I'm gonna add one thing to that. So there were 2 scenes. Originally it was 2 scenes, and we had, because of our time frame and schedule, we had to marry 2 scenes into one. And when we shot it, we did it in 1 take. And it was so magnificent that I called our executive, Craig Engler, and I'm like, you have to watch dailies today of what DJ did last night, because I was so blown away. You know, when you have an actor that makes it look effortless, and I was so in awe of him, and we inspired each other. And it was like, I love when I work with people that make me better. Like I can always learn. I can take every experience and find. A lot of times I find the shitty stuff in it, but I try to find the great stuff. And these people helped me find the great things about it. And I'm telling you, when we shot that scene, I looked at Rob Draper, the DP, I'm like, dude, this is a wonder. Like, the camera's gonna pull back and he's gonna get up off the floor and he's gonna talk to the camera and he's gonna do his thing. And in the cut, I mean, of course, I don't have anything else to cut to, so who am I kidding? But thank God I didn't need anything else to cut to because it was so beautiful. And, you know, when everybody asked me, like, what's your favorite episode? And they're all so great for so many different reasons that, like, today I'll be in love with one of them, and then tomorrow I might see something about another episode that I love. And that's the beauty of what everybody up here and everybody, all the people that are in the audience that worked on the show, whoever you are that you're here, I can't see you, but, you know, it really was an amazing experience. And when it was happening, like, I would wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning having panic attacks, like, every single night, and you can't tell, but a lot of my hair fell out. There's a lot here. But, like, I was so stressed out, and then somebody said to me, listen, if you don't wake up in the middle of the night freaking out, then you're not reaching high enough. And I was like, well, damn, I reached really high then, because I'm gonna lose my mind. So,
and that's true, because I sent you an email at 3 o'clock in the morning once, and you got right back to me. I was like, there are 2 words in this beautiful passage that have to go, and you were like, change them. You were right back to me. I was like, you go to bed.
What were you doing up?
Well, I think that was the day that one day I made a call, so I didn't have to be there until like 10 a.m.
That's because I was working. I was always jumping.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We 4 days, and then we worked, you know, from 7 o'clock to 6 o'clock. Oh, now we gotta go to DJ. I'm like, oh.
That's never happened. You do feel jealous, though. Like, there was an overlap in Greg's episode, and so my episode hadn't finished, and his segment started. And so, like, I would have him for like 10 minutes, and then he would run somewhere else, and it makes you feel like you're being cheated on.
Exactly. You're like, but you're supposed to stay with me. I'm your favorite.
Listen, in our calls, we'd start at 7 a.m. on Monday, but we were moving so fast, the paint wasn't dry on the set. So there was a day when I was like, don't lean. I think one of the actors like wanted to lean against the wall, and I'm like, please don't. We only have one jacket. Like, that's what it was like. I mean, we had one jacket. Please don't lean on the wall, because if you get paint on you, then I have to write a scene where you get paint on you. I don't know how the hell else. Like, you'd have the creep show up, the creep would show up with a paintbrush and paint.
And there's pressure, there's real pressure in that, because like, you look around and you've done something and your entire world is covered in blood. And there's no going back from it. So if you didn't get it, or it didn't look good, or you oversold it.
I had one white shirt for a while.
Yeah.
White!
Now that is low budget.
Blouse!
Well, let's give these people a little taste of what you guys are talking about.
Good. So
We have a trailer first.
we have I don't know, listen, we released the trailer this morning because my big plan was to get ahead of the Walking Dead trailer. Sorry everybody else that employs me and pays me for my day job. But I wanted to get the trailer out there for the world to see, but you guys are gonna get something a little special in a minute. Enjoy the trailer. If you haven't seen it, you can watch it big.
Who are you? You know it's okay to be scared, right?
You gonna tell me what this is all about?
Yes, absolutely. You've killed before. You kill again.
I see what you did there.
There are things in the corners of this world. They'll drive you insane.
I'm so nervous right now. I need affirmation. That was the cheapest thing I've ever done in my life, but it was really worth it. Just saying.
I have something I'd like to add. I don't know if it'll be important to you, but it's still in keeping with what we all think of Greg as a director. Our segment, we had a young boy who, I don't know if he'd ever been on screen before. Had he, Greg?
He didn't have a tremendous amount of experience
Yes.
with it, but
A local actor, maybe he'd done some theater, I'm not sure. And I thought, oh gosh, young, inexperienced, and carrying a lot of weight in the episode. Greg was fantastic with him. He got everything, I think. You've seen it, I haven't. But he got everything he wanted out of him. He had to use his words, as you do. But it was remarkable to watch him get the performance you wanted out of him.
he would, listen, here's the interesting thing. So, I'm a makeup effects guy too. I mean, a lot of people are like, wait, you did Sin City and you did like these, I've done a lot of crazy things in my life. But the first thing I ever learned, and I think one of the reasons why The Walking Dead became so important to me, was because when you deal with makeup artists and actors, like the actors, there has to be a trust. Like they come in, you're the first person they see in the morning, and I'll use Mickey Rourke as an example. We did Sin City. He would come into the trailer in the morning before anybody else was there. We would transform him into Marv, and then he would go to set, and all day long he would act. He would be that character. And then at the end of the day, we would take the makeup off and they would go home. So my entire career was built around this idea of actors and the makeup artists trusting each other. If the actors didn't trust me that I was going to transform them into something, then the transformation wouldn't work. And like when we did Inglourious Bastards, I remember we had all these great actors, all these great European actors that were playing these horrible people in German history, and we would transform them into these characters. So that's like one of the things that I took away from as a makeup artist that I brought in as a director. And when we auditioned Christopher to play this part, I needed to know that, I had a meeting with him beforehand, and I said, listen, your performance and your character is really the driving, you're the storyteller. Like the Stephen King Gray Matter story, it all comes from the words of this boy who's dealing with his alcoholic father and the codependence of it in the brilliant Stephen King way that it's written. So he was the voice of the episode. And so I brought him in, and I just sat with him for one lunchtime when I had 10 minutes to spare. It was more than that, and I wanted to make sure that if he had any questions, I wanted him to feel safe. I want all the actors on my set to feel safe, to feel, number one, that they're getting the attention they need, and number two, that they can explore what they want to explore. And then Adrienne came in over the weekend, and I remember that they went off and they sat and they were reading lines together.
And he actually came to my hotel on our day off. And, I said, if you need any help, and he said, well, could we work on Sunday? And his parents drove him all the way in, and he knew every line. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. And, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we were so fortunate that everybody came, because it is hard, like DJ was saying. You show up and scripts there the night before, and we throw you into the whirlpool. But everybody went with it. Everybody, and part of it was like when I would text, like Jeffrey Combs stars in one of the episodes, and he's magnificent. And I texted him and I said, hey, you want to do a cameo? And he said, sure. And then he got the script. He's like, this is a part. Like, you got to get your wording right. But I was totally baiting. I was like, I'm just baiting him to see if he was interested. And when he said yes, got it.
Is that kind of how you assembled all of your creeps, so to speak?
I think I did that with Giancarlo and Tobin.
No, you did.
I kind of went, hey, do you want to come play for 3 days? And they're like, well, shit, 3 days, like, that's nothing. Like, I could be home by Friday, and everything will be fine. So that did help, because if it would have been like a long commitment of like, oh, there's 6 weeks or 8 weeks, everybody's busy, I mean, I was such a whore. I literally, I went into my phone and I reached out to Simon Pegg and Josh Brolin and Jesse Eisenberg, like everybody that I had worked with. And I'm like, I hadn't talked to Jesse since Cursed with Wes Craven. Like, we got along really well, but I'm like, hey, you remember me? He's like, yeah. I'm like, hey, do you want to come and do an episode? And he was shooting Zombieland 2, like 5 minutes away. So, of course, in my mind, I'm like, well, I can get him for a day. They don't need him on Zombieland. I was like calculating the whole time, like who I can steal and borrow and beg. And then, of course, the funny thing is Jeffrey and Norman were like, well, you didn't ask us to be in Creepshow. And I'm like, but okay. Like, I felt like, of all people, you'd think I would have asked them. But, John Bernthal I talked to for a while. It was just like, everybody said yes, which kind of blew me away. Everybody that I wanted.
But you also
we want to work with people that we like. And people that we respect and that we enjoy being around and who have a creative vision and who are easy, affable, and make you feel safe. It was so easy, Greg, to say yes, because you allow them to be in their own skin, in their own power. And you also tolerate them actors, we're insecure, we're in our heads, and you're able to transform those feelings and empower us and say, you can do this, we're going to be accommodating. There's something to be said about having a little less of a budget. There's something that informs the project when you have the synchronicity of not enough time and you're under the pressure of doing an episode in 4 days. All of your focus and attention comes into the present.
That is absolutely right. I've just been on a show that had too much money, and nobody has to make any choices, because you can do things 1,000 different ways, and after a while, and then when there's so much money, you have somebody with an MBA trying to make creative decisions for you, and it's a trap. And this was the antidote to 3 years of that.
I kind of think George Romero would have loved this, because when he made films, it was like less like you know, it was almost like he was steering a guerrilla army. I mean, I remember very clearly everyone was kind of dressed in these raggedy Army Navy cast-off clothes and stuff, and they would just set up and shoot, and they moved quickly. I mean, I don't know how long it took for them to make Creepshow, but I think they shot the whole film in 28 days. You know, he liked to move.
Yeah. Well, listen, you know, Tina Romero came to visit, George's daughter came to visit set, and she's a writer-director, and she hung out when John Harrison was shooting. So John, every once in a while, would look at me and go, like, George would just love this. And then Tina sat in my office one night and went, Dad would be so proud. And I was like,
I really
I had a little squeaky, there was a little squeaky voice. But listen, I mean, I can't say enough about these people. It was hard, man. The experience was really hard, and you know, I'm getting the joy now because we get to share it with you guys. So speaking of,
Well, I want to.
oh wait, there's another.
Yes.
On
the Romero.
By the way, this is Jen. We bulldozered over her the entire panel.
I am so happy to
So
stand
I'm
up
so
here
sorry.
and listen. You guys are doing great. Romero, though, I hear that on set you had little, you know, shout-outs to him. How would you describe?
Oh, they're all, listen, you know, our makeup effects team and our set decorators and our props, like, we're all cut from the same cloth. They're all like so excited. Like if you watch the trailer again, when Kaylee Fleming, who plays Judith in Walking Dead, who's amazing by the way, when she opens the dollhouse, in the foreground there's a little miniature of the crate from Creepshow. Like when you look in the dollhouse in House of the Head, which was written by Josh Mallerman, who did Bird Box, awesome guy by the way. When you watch that episode and you look around, there's 8,000 Easter eggs just in that house. And like, there was one really interesting thing when they shot Creepshow, Nick Mastandrea, who was the key grip, they made a joke about putting this weird marble ashtray with a cherub on it. It's in every episode of Creepshow. So in Father's Day, it's the one that Bedelia hits the dad with. So when you watch Creepshow, the ashtray is in every episode. It's like a weird, like, Romero Easter egg. So my friend Kurt Root owns the original ashtray, and I called him, and he sent it down. So the ashtray that was in the movie is in every episode of Spirit. All of us nerdy weirdos that love this stuff, there's so much of that kind of stuff in there, and I gotta give a tremendous amount of props to Lucas and Renee, my set deck and my prop team and all these guys, because they were making stuff and throwing it in there, even when I wasn't telling them to do it. Like, I didn't even realize, like, they made the voodoo doll from the end of Creepshow is in the background of the scene. So the entire series is filled with stuff that even I haven't found all of it yet, because I know it's there somewhere.
You have to do a DVD commentary, whatever they're called now.
Yeah, we'll have
I
to
know
do
this.
But there is, listen, we're also talking, you know, like everybody, you know, Talking Dead, and they do these after show things, and in my head I'm like, we should do like one on Creepshow where we talk about all the cool stuff, but do like a 10-minute one, like where you guys. So by the way, I'm gonna hit you guys up for that. We might do that.
Nice.
Well, we want to open
I'll text you. It's a cameo. Don't worry about it. It'll be quick.
You could just take a video of this.
We could do
They would
that.
love it.
Greg, and you're texting. Wow, it's magic. We're going to open the floor up to Q&A. So if you have a question, get your hands ready. In the meantime, while we wait, while the lights go up, just raise your hand if you have a question. In the meantime, Greg, I want you to go through maybe really quickly. So you have just an amazing ensemble, not just of actors in addition to the actors we have up here, but writers, directors that you brought on.
Yeah.
Big Boy of Outcast.
Big Boy.
Creepshow.
We
Kid
had
Cudi.
Kid Cudi. I met Cudi through Norman Reedus on Walking Dead, and he was like, dude, can I come do an episode? David Arquette. You know, there's so many great people. And you know, I don't know if I mentioned all of our directors, David Bruckner, I think I did. If I didn't, and then our writers, you know, Joe Lansdale, John Esposito, David Scow, Byron, and Philip. There's so many of them. They're all running. I'm on the spot, so go off.
You got a great story originally by Bruce Jones.
Bruce, yes. Well, so here's another crazy weird thing. So Bruce Jones, if you guys remember Twisted Tales comics, it came out like in the 80s, right?
Yeah.
Bruce Jones wrote those, and there was like 10 or 11 of them, and I love them. They're so great, and that was one of my inspirations for Creepshow. And I was trying to pitch it to people. I'm like, they got to be dark and like Twisted Tales, and I have every single issue. So I go to my first meeting at Shudder, and there's a girl sitting across the table, and it's Bruce Jones' daughter, Robin, who is one of the executives on the show. And I'm like, I want one of your dad's stories. So Bruce Jones, so we did All Hallows Eve, which was originally published in Twisted Tales as one of our episodes. So I felt like we kind of hit the jackpot, and then Jason, who wrote...
Jason Yamato, who also wrote the Cape for adaptation of a short story of mine called The Cape.
That's right.
It was like an Eisner-nominated story.
Wrote the episode based on one of Joe's stories.
By the Silver Waters of Lake Champlain.
Yes. So I feel like we like had the all-star, like the Ringo Starr all-star rock and roll team of everybody that we could get. So I was super proud. Wait, so Julia, where's the box? Emily, can I? Oh, so by the way, let Julia stand up. Julia's the producer on the show. She did an amazing job. Where's Brian? Brian Wynn. Stand up. Brian's one of the producers of the show.
Sweet shirt, Brian.
And he's got, hey, by the way, you can buy that shirt on Fright Rags, or Brian will give you one because he has a shitload of them with him. And where's Rob Draper? Stand up, Rob. So listen, this guy is a genius. I worked with him. The first movie we did together was Halloween 5. He was the DP. He also shot Tales from the Dark Side of the movie. I find him fiercely passionate about everything that he does. He's so brilliant. And when Creepshow came up, I couldn't imagine another guy visualizing the show. So he did a great job. Thank you, Rob. Wait, is there anybody else here? Because I know those people. But, oh, shit, Rob Schraub is here.
Rob Schraub!
Rob wrote and directed his own episode, which is a cool story. I don't want to say too much about it because it's so good.
Yeah, no spoilers. No spoilers.
And his wife right next to him is in the episode. Oh, shit, I said it.
We want to get through as many questions as possible. We don't have that much time, so please, go for it.
Okay, this question is for the actors, especially Trisha and Giancarlo. You all seem so pleasant and nice on the panel. How do you psych yourself up to play such evil, scary characters?
It's therapy. No, it's I love the psychology of getting into another human being or being, and it's such an escape and a release, and I would say almost like a therapy session of just being able to dive into something, and you leave yourself at the door, but yet there's little parts of you that seep in and flavor the character, and sometimes you don't even know that they're coming, and it's a nice release, and to me it's a massively collaborative experience. It's not just about like my own little bubble. It's about, like Greg said, first person you see in the morning is your hair or makeup, and it's about getting into your costume. And you said this earlier today about getting into your costume first. I wait until after hair and makeup to get into my costume, but it's the whole transformation, and I find that really exhilarating. So I live it myself a lot, so I'm very happy to get out there and play something that maybe I don't get to do in my own normal life.
So lovely, it's the feeling you have when you're young and you're a child and your whole life is play and discovery. And that is why I do what I do. Creepshow allowed me to be in a new discovery of myself. You act as if you don't know. In my day, we called it faking the funk. But you act as if, and you take the best and leave the rest. Chris, what you said about letting yourself seep in is such a beautiful thing. because we want to see you. We like what we see. We like that you're creating a character, and we want to see you blend with that character. For me, I've spent many years doing many different shows all at one time, but the show that I do that people are afraid of me for is Breaking Bad. So I wind up changing my personality, and because of my very direct and very cold demeanor, I wind up scaring people. Or intimidating them. In this position, I wanted to be scared. I was so happy that Greg asked me to do this because I wanted to see if I could access that part of me that's vulnerable and could be in fear. And so we as actors oftentimes are exercising our demons through the characters that we play.
Well, absolutely. We are a mess, dude.
A mess.
Actors are so... My sister, when she was 15, told me she wanted to be an actor, and I cried. I was like, Megan, you're smarter than that. Don't do this. Don't be this kind of damaged. It's real, though.
But the damage that she will do and that we do as actors, and that I pray that my youngest daughter, Ruby, who's just said the same thing to me, I found what I want to do, and I laughed, and I was happy, but yet I cried as well. But the reason we do what we do is because there is a beautiful sharing and a release in our self-expression. And if we're courageous enough to face what we want to express and express it, we live in creativity. The grand architect of the universe created this space for us. The grand architect, goddess and God, whatever you believe, created a space for us to create whatever it is you want. So you get it? You can do whatever you want. You can create whatever you want. It's up to you. It's your choice. And so we've made the choice that makes us happy. And I was always told, do what you love to do. That's why you're here.
Next question. Go for it, sir.
I think this question's in great hands because Adrienne and Joe and Greg have great legacy with horror. So I wanted to ask, what is each of your favorite horror movies of all
Well,
time?
that's a good question.
For me, that's easy.
One of the other.
Well, listen, I go, it's like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, it's Dawn of the Dead. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, it's Jaws. And then Sunday, I fluctuate. Sunday, it'll be like, that's like my free day off.
Well, I mean, Jaws is the best film ever made. So if we count that as a horror film, that's the, I mean, but I think, you know, when we think about horror, I think The Exorcist is the scariest movie.
Oh, dude. Traumatized me so bad.
Hereditary gives it a run for its money, though. Hereditary,
You didn't like it? No, you just made, like, really?
Hereditary knocked my head
You don't get a
off.
free comment.
Yeah.
No,
My head like exploded when I saw it.
yeah, I liked it. But these two girls were like, wait, did you like it? Yeah? Yeah, okay, good. You're okay. No. Oh, by the way, listen, before I forget, so this is the coolest thing I've ever touched in my life. So Heavy Metal did a limited run of like 1,000 of these. There's an actual Creepshow comic book. Like it feels, you should feel it. It feels, take it, feel it. It feels amazing.
Can they
By the
have
way,
that? Are you giving that? Oh, that's yours.
It's so there's going to be a bunch at the Heavy Metal boudoir, but there are two stories that we developed that we didn't shoot because we didn't have enough money. But one of them was going to be Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock. Because I know we were literally like when Dave Chappelle reshot the Negan scene and they did it on Saturday Night Live. I was so honored that he duplicated what I shot. It was so great. But anyway, so Heavy Metal is super cool enough to make. So go to their booth tomorrow. I think they're going to have a bunch of them, and there's only 1,000, so you got to
1
get
o'clock.
them.
Hey.
Wait, there's a what? What? Oh yeah, and I'm signing tomorrow. I'm trying to get out of it, but dude, I can't.
Before we run out of time, not only is Creepshow the most fun you'll have being scared, I was doing the math in my head. It's also the most affordable fun you'll have being scared. Because like Shudder costs $5 a month to subscribe.
I did not know that.
And you get 12 episodes of Creepshow, and if I'm doing the math right, That's 38 cents an episode. That's a lot of bang for your buck.
We should.
38 cents to piss your pants. You can't beat that.
Also, we are running out of time, which means we do need to remind you guys, I don't think it was set up here, but you do have a release date.
Yes. Oh, yes. I know. We should just go for another 2 hours, but they'll throw us out. September 26th, right?
Yep.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. And we're not dropping everything all at once. We're gonna do each week is gonna be a new episode because I want it to be like episodic.
Every week is still Halloween.
There's something out there. I can't say it. I hate not being able to say it. But there's another announcement coming up in a couple of weeks that will make everybody that lives in Los Angeles very, very happy. That's all.
Whoa. And you know what? Before we end this panel, I'm so sorry we ran out of time for your questions, guys. Thank
Give
you.
them a free comic book.
Yeah.
Oh, here you go.
Yay.
You got a free comic book. You didn't even ask a question. That's what.
You get a comic. You get a comic.
That's 38 cents.
It's my Oprah fan.
You guys, wait a second, Greg. Do you want to show them something else before we go?
We're going to show a clip. This is from an episode called The Companion, written by Joe Lansdale and Matt Venn and Casey Lansdale. I want to make sure I didn't screw anything up. And David Bruckner directed it. And listen, this is one of my favorite episodes. They're all my favorites, so that's bullshit. But this will give you a little vibe as to what we're doing. So
and this
enjoy.
is a world premiere, exclusive just for you guys here in this room.
That's why Jen's here.